I'm going to tell you about foods that you actually need to know about and what they can actually do and what we think they do to actually contribute to dementia.
Meet Dr. William Li, a world-renowned physician, researcher, and pioneer in the field of food as medicine. His cutting-edge work on angiogenesis, metabolism, and chronic disease prevention has reshaped the way we view nutrition. But when it comes to brain health and dementia, Dr. Li presents a powerful insight, one that might surprise you. While aging and genetics often take the blame, he highlights something far more controllable: the food we eat every day. And ignoring it could carry devastating consequences. The good news? Every bite is an opportunity to protect your mind. In this video, we'll explore Dr. Li's findings on how some of the most common meals may silently contribute to cognitive decline and dementia. We're not talking about rare disorders or exotic toxins. This is about the familiar foods many of us consume without a second thought. But before we reveal these 6 brain-harming meals, let's understand why diet matters. Dementia doesn't strike overnight. It builds silently over time, driven not only by age or heredity, but also by chronic inflammation, poor blood flow, and damage to the brain's delicate vascular system. And here's where diet plays a central role. Meals high in sugar, salt, unhealthy fats, and artificial ingredients may impair the gut-brain connection, disrupt blood vessels, and trigger toxic buildup, all of which can accelerate cognitive decline. But before we continue, this content is provided for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider with any questions about your health or a medical condition. Now that we understand how the wrong foods can quietly sabotage our brains, let's expose the 6 worst meals that, according to Dr. William Li, may be feeding dementia. It looks harmless. A warm plate of white rice, simple, comforting, and found in kitchens across the world. But what if this everyday staple is silently sabotaging your brain? The truth is, white rice isn't as innocent as it seems. It may be functioning like pure sugar in disguise. Once you eat it, your body quickly breaks it down into glucose, sending your blood sugar on a roller coaster. And here's where the danger begins. These repeated spikes don't just burden your pancreas, they may be triggering inflammation deep inside your body, including your brain. Over time, the damage adds up. High-carb diets, like those centered around white rice, can contribute to metabolic overload. When consumed in excess, carbs are stored as fat, especially visceral fat, the kind that surrounds your internal organs. According to Dr. William Li, visceral fat can become oxygen-deprived, triggering widespread inflammation. This internal fire affects not just your body, but also your brain function. In 2021, a study found that individuals with higher visceral fat had a significantly increased risk of developing vascular dementia, as this fat contributes to blood vessel dysfunction and poor circulation in the brain.
Type 2 diabetes, which can come from metabolic syndrome, which can come from eating too high carb diet, actually sets up for blood clots, because blood can clot because in the small blood vessels, because you're not getting a smooth surface, and so the blood can stick. Remember, I told you the sweater that won't actually won't glide across the ice. Well, look, platelets, your blood cells can stick there too, and that can cause little microclots. You got 400 miles worth of blood vessels, your circulation in your brain, that can have microclots, and if that happens, you're in trouble. That's actually a setup for something called.
And the problem doesn't stop there. Excess carbs raise your risk of metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and high cholesterol, all of which are known contributors to cognitive decline. A healthier swap could be cauliflower rice sautéed with olive oil, garlic, and herbs. Not only is it low-carb and anti-inflammatory, but Dr. Li suggests that cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower may support brain health by reducing inflammation and improving metabolic function. The second meal that can potentially contribute to cognitive decline is one that's a favorite in every fast food run and kids' menu: chicken nuggets. Crispy, golden, and addictive, they feel like comfort food, but behind that crunch is a factory-made trap. These ultra-processed nuggets aren't just fried pieces of meat. They're a chemical cocktail, shaped to please your taste buds.
People who eat a lot of ultra-processed foods have a higher risk of all forms, many different types of chronic diseases: diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, cancer, autoimmune conditions. I mean, the list goes on and on. But it turns out to be linked to a higher risk of dementia as well.
Packed in boxes and sealed in bags, they contain more than chicken. Artificial preservatives, synthetic flavors, and binders your body doesn't recognize. The danger? These compounds don't just affect your waistline. They may be damaging your gut, disrupting the delicate microbiome that communicates with your brain. What starts as an innocent craving might be feeding a long-term threat: brain fog, poor memory, and even increased dementia risk. According to Dr. William Lee, ultra-processed foods like chicken nuggets may harm your gut-brain axis, the communication system between your digestive system and your brain. These meals often contain emulsifiers, synthetic additives, and microplastics from packaging, which can disrupt your gut microbiota, leading to systemic inflammation. A 2022 study found that individuals who consumed the most UPFs had a 28% faster rate of global cognitive decline and a 25% higher risk of developing dementia compared to those who ate fewer processed foods. Why? Because an inflamed gut weakens your immune defenses and disturbs neurotransmitter balance, like serotonin and dopamine, which play vital roles in memory, focus, and mood. Over time, this chronic inflammation may affect brain structure and function, accelerating neurodegeneration. Swap them for oven-baked turmeric chicken tenders, made with fresh chicken breast, olive oil, garlic, and anti-inflammatory spices. Dr. Lee highlights turmeric for its brain-supporting potential and recommends whole, unprocessed proteins to support gut and brain health together. But before we move on, if you are looking to dive deeper into the foods that can cause dementia, be sure to subscribe to the Vitazen Health newsletter linked below. Each week, we share expert-backed tips, delicious recipes, and actionable steps to help you live longer and feel your best delivered right to your inbox. Hold up. Did you know inflammation is one of the biggest causes of cancer, heart disease, and aging? And most people are making it worse with what they eat. That's why I put together the Anti-Inflammation and Immunity Smoothie and Juice Guide. 80-plus science-backed recipes designed to stop inflammation, boost immunity, and help your body heal. Grab your copy now from the video description below. The third meal that may silently be affecting your brain is sitting right in your pantry: peanut butter. Creamy, salty, and spreadable, it feels like the perfect snack. But not all peanut butters are created equal. Most of the commercial brands contain artificial trans fats, industrial oils that extend shelf life, but could shorten your brain's health span.
Now, another study from China looked at 8,630 people and found that diets that are high in saturated fats, that increases the risk of Alzheimer's disease by 39%.
These trans fats are master deceivers. Even if the label says 0 grams, small amounts may still be hiding in each spoonful. And what do? They inflame your arteries, stiffen blood vessels, and may rob your brain of the oxygen-rich blood it desperately needs. It's not just about heart health anymore. Trans fats may be silently choking off blood flow to your mind. Trans fats are made by hydrogenating vegetable oils to make them solid at room temperature, a process that extends shelf life but can trigger inflammation and vascular damage. According to Dr. William Lee, these fats impair the production of nitric oxide, a molecule critical for relaxing blood vessels and ensuring proper blood flow, including to the brain. Over time, this can raise the risk of narrowing of arteries and ultimately vascular dementia.
Trans fats also linked to cardiovascular damage and brain damage as well.
A 2019 study published in Neurology tracked over 1,600 adults for 10 years and found that those with higher levels of oleic acid, a common trans fat found in processed foods like peanut butter and pastries, had up to a 74% increased risk of dementia. The damage isn't immediate, but it's cumulative. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Replace processed peanut butter with unsweetened almond butter or homemade peanut butter. Dr. Lee suggests combining it with apple slices or whole grain toast for a fiber-rich, brain-friendly snack that avoids hidden fats.
The next food I want to talk about that can feed disease and lead to dementia is any food or beverage that contains a lot of added sugar and you're eating a lot of it regularly.
The fourth meal that may be increasing your risk of dementia is what many people call the most important meal of the day, breakfast cereal. Colorful, crunchy, and often labeled whole grain, these cereals might seem like a healthy start, but beneath the marketing lies a dangerous truth. Most are loaded with added sugars. One bowl can contain more sugar than a glazed donut. That's not breakfast, it's dessert in disguise. And when you feed your body this kind of sugar first thing in the morning, it doesn't just spike your energy. It may be quietly pushing you toward insulin resistance, inflammation, and cognitive decline. Over time, this sugary habit may contribute to brain fog, memory lapses, and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, which experts link to Alzheimer's disease. When you eat sugar-loaded cereals, your blood glucose surges. Over time, your cells become resistant to insulin. This leads to chronic hyperglycemia, a key driver of metabolic syndrome, which includes high blood pressure, belly fat, and elevated cholesterol. According to Dr. William Lee, these metabolic changes damage blood vessels, including those that feed the brain. Poor circulation to the brain impairs oxygen delivery and speeds up cognitive decline. A landmark study published in the American Diabetes Association showed that people with type 2 diabetes had a 60% greater risk of developing dementia. Elevated glucose may also cause inflammation in the brain, interfering with memory, and increasing the risk of both vascular dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Swap sugary cereals for a bowl of steel-cut oats topped with blueberries, chia seeds, and a drizzle of almond butter. Dr. Lee recommends berries for their anthocyanins, which may reduce brain inflammation and support cognitive health when eaten regularly. The fifth meal that could be quietly impacting your brain is one many people eat without a second thought, the classic tuna sandwich. It's quick, affordable, and often praised for being high in protein. But what if that convenient lunch is delivering more than just nutrients? Higher in the food chain you get, the more fish has been eaten collectively that actually has mercury. So the big fish, like swordfish. Many canned tunas, especially albacore or yellowfin, may contain high levels of mercury, a heavy metal that's toxic to the human nervous system. Unlike bacteria or viruses, mercury doesn't trigger a fever or rash. It's stealthy. It builds up slowly, settling into your tissues, including your brain, where it can interfere with cognition, memory, and focus. This isn't just a seafood issue, it's a neurological threat that could be contributing to early signs of cognitive decline. Dr. William Lee warns against frequent consumption of large predatory fish like tuna, swordfish, and shark, because they accumulate more mercury as they age and grow. Mercury acts as a neurotoxin, meaning it directly disrupts brain cells. It strips away the myelin sheath, the protective coating around nerves, much like fraying electrical wires. A 2017 study in JAMA Neurology examined the brains of people who ate fish regularly. Those with the highest mercury levels showed more signs of brain damage and cognitive impairment, especially when eating fish species with known contamination. While omega-3s in fish can be beneficial, the type of fish matters greatly. Eating the wrong kind too often may expose your brain to harmful toxins instead of helping it. Always better to eat lower on the food chain when it comes to seafood, all right? Cod, mackerel, sardines, anchovies, those are lower in the food chain. They're likely to have less accumulated mercury in their body. opt for sardine or wild-caught salmon salad on whole grain toast, tossed with avocado, lemon, and olive oil. Dr. Lee recommends smaller fish like sardines for their omega-3s and low mercury levels, making them a safer choice for brain support. The sixth and final meal that could be quietly fueling dementia is a go-to comfort food for students, night owls, and busy families is instant ramen noodles with seasoning. It's cheap, fast, and oddly satisfying. But beneath that warm bowl lies a massive problem: salt, and lots of it. One pack can deliver up to 90% of your daily sodium limit in just a few bites. While salt is essential in small amounts, too much of it may wreak havoc on your blood vessels, especially those in the brain.
Super salty foods basically can lead to vascular dementia, which is damage to the blood vessels and therefore damages the brain.
Over time, the damage from constant sodium overload can increase the risk of hypertension, strokes, and vascular dementia. Excess sodium strains the endothelial lining of your blood vessels, making them stiff and inflamed. This leads to increased blood pressure and reduced blood flow, especially dangerous for the tiny, fragile vessels in the brain. Dr. William Lee points out that when the brain doesn't receive adequate circulation, neurons suffer from oxygen deprivation, which may contribute to cognitive decline. A 2021 meta-analysis involving over 34,000 participants found that people with uncontrolled high blood pressure had a 42% higher risk of developing dementia. High sodium diets have also been linked to brain shrinkage, memory loss, and impaired learning, particularly in older adults. And the worst part? These effects can start long before symptoms appear, making salty foods a quiet but serious risk.
The other thing, by lowering the amount of sodium, salt in your diet, it also helps to lower your risk of a heart attack, kidney disease, eye disease, many other conditions that you can avoid. All right. So again, this is just something to be mindful of. Don't eat a lot of salt.
As an alternative, you can try a bowl of miso soup with tofu, bok choy, and mushrooms, seasoned lightly with low-sodium tamari and fresh ginger. Dr. Lee highlights fermented foods like miso for their potential gut-brain benefits and lower sodium content when used mindfully.